Hello, folks, and welcome to episode 28 of the Inside Sports Podcast. As with the DE capitalized, I'm your host, Cole Daly. We got Joey Bernard to my left and Jay Cruz to my right, who, as we all know, is just some guy.
Who's JB?
He is the graduate assistant for the DE.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know.
I forgot that.
I forgot
too.
The fans at home remember, but they don't know your affiliation, so that's why
Well,
I
I'm
had
just
to
some
remind
guy.
them
I mean,
about
how would they?
Exactly.
I have no affiliations.
That's right. Let's jump into it. Check in. Dogs of the Vet. Softball. Who wants to start? Jay Cruz raised his hand. So they swept Belmont, and then they had a loss to Missouri State on senior night. They're still number one in the Valley, 17-4, 33-9. Nothing to really worry about. Jay Cruz, tell me what you saw and what should we expect in the tournament.
It's kind of a loaded question, honestly, because I actually watched the game yesterday, and I say that as if it's like some anomaly. I just haven't been able to go this year. And, of course, the one game I go to is the game that Mattia Groff actually looks human and gives up 4 runs, a couple of homers. Missouri State's not a bad team. They have some really good players. But, you know, as someone who hadn't gone to a game yet, it was like, well, wait a minute now. This is kind of the wrong time of the year to start giving up stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think my only concern with her, given her performance yesterday, that maybe she's just getting a little bit tired. She is a freshman. This is probably, you know, in the summer you pitch a lot, but it's really only on the weekends. And the competition you play kind of varies. Now she's in a spot where the competition she plays against is only going to get better and better and better as we head into the rest of the season and then the conference tournament. Obviously, once we get to the semifinals and championship, we're going to play some really good teams like UNI and Belmont. And both of those teams are going to be out for revenge against us. So I would say that's all it is. Just as long as they stay focused, don't stay complacent. Jackie Liss is still mashing the crap out of the ball. She is peaking at the right time, to say the least. So I'm not necessarily worried about the team, but there are just a couple things I would just put out there. So if you're running around screaming our name, just make sure that you understand that there might be some mitigating factors.
Absolutely. And Joey B, we've got a road series against Indiana State, who are number 11 in the Missouri Valley. So we should expect a win here. No?
Definitely a series win. I would hope for a sweep. Since we just swept Belmont, who was like our number 2 competitor.
Absolutely.
So I would expect nothing less than a series win here. Now, Jay Cruz mentioned just Mattia Groff getting kind of tired, and I would have to agree with all of that, all of those statements there. I actually wouldn't be opposed to, because our kind of plan pitching-wise lately has been start Mattia Groff game 1, and then Maddie Eberle gets game 2, and then Groff gets game 3. I actually wouldn't be opposed to switching that, where at least for this series specifically, where Eberle gets 1 and 3, and then Groff gets game 2, just to give her a bit more of a rest. If Groff needs to come in and Eberle is having a rough time out there, I wouldn't be opposed to it, just to give her some more rest. But no, I want to talk about that series with Belmont just to start off just a little bit. I mean, I was at that Saturday game, and no, it was a really, really hard day for the Bats. And, it just like a switch, Jackie Liss hit a home run. We had a run on the board, and we had some life. And I think, and that was a day that Maddie Eberle started pitching. So, all I just want to say is if we can do that and then come back in those games where our bats are low and, Belmont has just an edge over us against our pitching, I think we're going to be able to survive in this conference, and that's going to lead us to a conference title. I think we can do that, especially this weekend against Indiana State, who's lower in our standings at least. So, I'd expect nothing less than a series win against Indiana State.
Absolutely. Lucky day on both diamonds for SIU. 3-0 sweep over Belmont, Jay Cruz. They did lose to SEMO on the road, but we are now 4th in the Valley. 24-17, 8-7 in the Missouri Valley. Jay Cruz, hopes high, or do you have tempered expectations?
I think I've had to reevaluate how much I put into midweek games, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Some of these losses in the midweek, with now 2 to SEMO, we lost at home as well. The UT Martin loss. Every time we have a series like this against Belmont where we do really well against an MVC team on the road, it seems like, in my mind at least, because I take every game seriously, it sort of cancels out with these weird midweek losses to teams that are just, frankly, aren't that great. You have to wonder, and we talked a bit at the beginning of the year about how the starting pitching rotation was going to be a work in progress all season, that was the one quote-unquote weakness, and we thought they figured it out. it's probably gone back to that rocky stage where we don't really know who we can rely on, especially with those midweek games. So I don't know. I'm not necessarily as, even with the sweep over Belmont, which was fantastic, I mean, especially in conference, and now we have a winning conference record, I'm not nearly as confident as I was, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, just because of these setbacks that we've had with the pitching, and at the times the bats have gone completely silent. So it's going to be up to guys, like the Jake Allgaiers of the world and the Bennett Eltoffs who have, struggled at times, especially Bennett. If he can get it going, I think we're going to be pretty dangerous, but we just haven't seen it yet.
Joey B, I'm getting deja vu from basketball. We host 24th ranked Indiana State this weekend.
Yeah.
They were 23rd in basketball. Should we expect maybe same thing that happened at Banterra Center, or is it probably going to have to temporarily?
With the way the bats, at least last weekend against Belmont, were, I think we have a chance. I'm not going to make any wild statements out here, though. You actually took the words straight out of my mouth. It reminded me exactly of basketball. But, no, I was just reading up a little bit about Indiana State, and the reason why they're that good, they're up there in the rankings, is their pitching staff. They have the 16th ranked team ERA in the entire nation. So, obviously, these players know a lot more about, their scouting on Indiana State than I do, but I'm just going to say we need to grind some at-bats out. Don't give them anything easy, right? They thrive off of a lot of swing and misses, and we just can't. We have to be smart about our at-bats. Grind out these at-bats, make them long, and then when you do finally get onto the base pass, you got to be aggressive about it. You got to take advantage of, hey, we got some runners on. Let's create something out of nothing, possibly. See if we can get a runner in scoring position. If we just have those chances, it's going to give us some momentum and give us some life against an Indiana State team that is really, really good.
Absolutely. That does it for Check-In with Dogs of the Vet. Me and Jay Cruz now. We're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. A little check-in. It was a great past week.
Incredible past week.
Jay Cruz, before we get started, we want to shout you out. Because you are a Missouri Valley Conference champion, aren't you, Jay Cruz?
Technically, I guess I am. I was the SID for the MVC champion, women's team as well, but the men's golf team who won the championship last week. Destroyed him, by the way. They won it by 8 strokes. They were leading by 14 heading into round 3. So it was the last round was basically a formality. Shout out to Coach Fetcho. Shout out to Edward Serrato, who is probably the best golfer in the Missouri Valley Conference. He won the individual championship. He's been golfing better than anyone in the country the last few weeks. So shout out to those guys.
Awesome. So happy for you, Jay Cruz. All of our fans at home, I'm sure, are losing it right now.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs.
Yes.
So it's kind of funny. It's kind of playing out how I talked about, right? There's only a couple games that I feel like I've been super wrong on. I was right on the Nuggets. So let's just go down the list. Thunder up 2-0.
Yep.
I figured that would happen.
Yep.
We've got 4 and 5. That
1-1.
first game for the Mavericks was genuinely embarrassing. Awful.
Yeah.
Just horrible, but they came back. Luka. I still think the Mavericks win that series. Timberwolves are dominating the Suns.
Yes.
2-0. Nuggets. Woo!
What a game.
What a game.
What a freaking game.
Against the Lakers a couple nights ago. Then we'll go move on to the East. I want to start from the bottom because the last game was the one I want to talk about. Knicks. That was an incredible ending as well. The last Knicks and Sixers game with the offensive rebound and everything. Great job. Shout out NBA refs. Because the officiating. I know it's playoff time.
Yeah.
But it's better. Let them play. Let those kids play. 3 and 6. We've got Bucks at 1. Pacers at 1. You have to wonder when Giannis is coming back. Cavs are up 2-0 over the Magic. Kind of expect it. Magic just don't have enough offense. They just don't. But yet, they should take a card out of their divisional friends book because Miami Heat don't have any offense. And yet, they are 1-1 tied with the Boston Celtics.
23 3-pointers in game 2.
Now, of course they're shooting lights out, which is the reason why they won that game. But Celtics just have to be embarrassed. The Celtics have to be so upset after how last year went. You need to make a statement this year. Say, don't care. 4 games, we'll knock them out. And the fact that they didn't do that, they didn't sweep, I think it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think you need to make a statement.
I agree.
Jay Cruz, did you have any thoughts that you would like to add?
No, I really just wanted to get into some questions I have, because really everything that I would want to know, I think you can answer for me.
Of course.
Now, one thing that, and look, I'm not really in the business of predicting NBA games, but I did nail a prediction earlier this week when it was announced that Kawhi Leonard was coming back for Game 2 for the Clippers. Almost immediately, I got on my phone and I texted Cole Daly and I said, Mavericks are winning this game, no doubt.
100%.
And it's always,
what he says.
And I don't know if it's just a Kawhi thing, but I always have this weird theory, especially in the NBA playoffs, that when a team starts winning without their star, once that star comes back, it breaks up their mojo. You saw the way the Clippers played in Game 1. Game 2, it was a completely different story. They couldn't score, right? Is there some merit to my, I guess, reverse psychology theory or backwards theory that, star players coming back sort of does break up that mojo?
Well, I think what you're talking about in theory, I don't want to use in theory. We're going to talk a lot about theories.
Yes.
But I think what you're talking about.
You said theory and Siri just talking.
Okay. So Bill Simmons, I don't know if he's the one who coined this term.
From what site?
The Ringer. Be sure to check that
Oh,
out.
are you a big fan of The Ringer?
I'm a big fan of The Ringer.
No way. Wow.
And you've heard me talk about Ewing theory before.
Yes.
Patrick Ewing gets injured in 2000. That 2000 Knicks team becomes inspired by their star player being out. So all the bench guys play better, which ultimately leads to their team having more success. And I think what you're breaking down is essentially Ewing theory.
Yeah.
Where Clippers are without their star player, Patrick Ewing being Kawhi Leonard in this situation, and they play incredible. They know they have to play harder, so they play a lot harder. Mm-hmm. When you have your star back, James Harden's like, I'll take an extra 3 or 2 here and there.
James
trying
Harden
to stuff my points.
He becomes who everyone thinks he is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you got Norman Powell. Is I don't have the ball all that much, so whatever. I think you're 100% correct. Ewing theory, it's through and through. Always been the case. Plus, I mean, obviously part of it is they're down 1-0 in the series. The Mavericks are also playing harder. Right. They got their pants pulled down on national television. But I think there's absolutely some truth to the Ewing theory, or, as you've very wonderfully put here, Jay Cruz's reverse psychology theory.
I think Ewing theory sounds a little bit better. It's probably a little bit easier to say, but yes. Next question. Which of these two teams needed that Game 2 victory more? There were 2 incredible endings in Game 2s of the first round. The Lakers lost to the Nuggets, Jamal Murray with that last shot, and then the 76ers collapsing at the end of that game, turning the ball over. Dante DiVincenzo, who missed the first 3, but Isaiah Hartenstein saved that.
Wonderful offensive.
Saved the possession, get it back out. DiVincenzo nails it, Knicks win. Which of those 2 teams, the Lakers or the Sixers, needed that win more?
It has to be the 76ers, and that is only because I think the 76ers have a real shot at winning the series. And because I think the Lakers, if they win that one, that was a Lakers win through and through. And this shows you how good the Denver Nuggets are, because in the playoffs, if you want to know which teams have a real chance at winning the championship, you need to look at the games where one team should win, but the Nuggets get lucky. I'm thinking about, honestly, the Knicks in that situation too. Like, that happened in both times. That proves that both those teams are still so good. Because the Lakers, right, got D'Angelo Russell, knocks down 7 threes in the first, 3 quarters.
Right.
Anthony Davis goes buck wild in the third quarter, not missing anything. LeBron James has an excellent finish that game, and the Nuggets still win. So to me, I think the Nuggets are just too good, insurmountable. Even when they're down 7 to the Lakers with 7 minutes left in the game, you kind of know they're coming back. Yeah. For the 76ers, this is a more even series. The Knicks don't have anybody with the star power that can kind of match Joel Embiid, but they have Isaiah Hartenstein, who's a great defender, a lot of really, really good role players. Jalen Brunson's been awesome all season, but Jalen Brunson has not played good the first 2 games. And if Jalen Brunson has not been playing good and the Sixers still haven't pulled out a win yet, it's making me think this series might only go 5 or 6 with how hurt Joel Embiid is.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. Question number 3, Cole Daly. Which of these teams, we're talking about teams that need to make comebacks, right? Which of these teams that are currently down 2-0, and there's 5 of them, the Pelicans, the Suns, Lakers, the Magic, and the 76ers, do you think have the best chance at coming back? We kind of already touched on the Sixers. We think needed that game more. But do you think any of these teams have a
Well, it comes to the
leg
highest
up on the
likelihood.
others?
When it comes to the highest likelihood, I think it's still the Sixers, weirdly.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be tough to win. It's kind of a tie. It's 76ers and the Suns. Because the Timberwolves have also had 2 miraculous performances. Jaden McDaniels went crazy. In Game 2, Anthony Edwards had an awesome game, but we should expect Anthony Edwards to have awesome games with the caliber of star that he is now. I think what it comes down to is really just Sixers have Joel Embiid, who's really, really good. They have Tyrese Maxey, who's really, really good. If their wings step up, like Batum, Tobias Harris, they still have the highest likelihood, just slightly over the Suns, who still have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant. Grayson Allen's been a huge piece for them. And I don't know if I really buy this Timberwolves team as like a real threat to the Western Conference. I mean, they've played excellent so far. I've been very impressed by Rudy Gobert's defense, and I've been very public about my disdain for Rudy Gobert's defense on this pod. But at the end of the day, I just think what it comes down to is I'm going to go Sixers. If I had to rank them, I'd go Sixers, Suns, Pelicans, Magic, Lakers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You just don't like you just don't think the Lakers stand a chance.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with the Lakers. It's that I think the Nuggets are insurmountable.
This might be a little bit of a stretch, but are the Nuggets reaching sort of UConn territory in that they're just going to find a way to win regardless? Maybe not that dominant, but
yeah. I mean, I don't want to say because UConn was so good. It was like the 2019 Warriors with KD,
right?
For college basketball,
right?
The Nuggets, I'd compare them to like. It's tough to say. I couldn't think of a team this year that really exemplifies it. But if there was a team in history that you can think of, and you know college basketball far better than I do, but here's the thing: I have no stress when they're down 5 with 4 minutes left.
Yeah,
I am not stressing because Jokic and Jamal Murray are going to get a good shot for the last 5 minutes of the game. They're the best. They might be one of the best clutch time teams I've ever seen play basketball ever, and that's saying a lot.
Yep.
Is that all you had for me, Jake?
That's
Cruz?
all I got for you.
Well, I think by the time we're going to have some teams in the next round, next time we talk, on our last Daily Egyptian podcast
say
episode.
that.
I know. But
Positive vibes today, people.
Positive vibes.
It's a great day.
Should I bring it back?
Ah! Oh my gosh, we're bringing that back again.
Cold Aliens.
These are still hilarious. I still love
it.
All of Cole Daly's ideas have been terrific for transitions this year. We had another great week of MLB baseball, and I got some teams that I think we need to talk about that I haven't talked about so far in these past couple weeks. I got 3 of them down here. 2 of them are on the lighter side. Everything's sunshine and rainbows with them.
The Mark
and
lighter
other
side?
Ones, yes, the Mark lighter side. Yeah. And the other one is down in the deep depths of hell right now.
Oof.
And that's a harsh word to say, but I want to start off with the Cleveland Guardians. My goodness. They have been on a tear to start the year. They have the best record in the American League. Who would have thought?
Yep.
Now, I do want to first put it out there. Yes, they have the best record in the American League. However, their schedule has been very, very, very easy.
Very.
10 of their wins, so they sit at 17-7 right now. 10 of their wins have either came against the Oakland Athletics, the Chicago White Sox, who we will talk about a lot later, and then the Minnesota Twins, who they have not really been doing the greatest so far this season. So
it's kind of been surprising how bad they've been. So far.
Yeah, absolutely. So they have kind of slugged their way into this position that they're in right now, and it's been kind of because they've been playing a lot of these bad teams. They lost their star pitcher, Shane Bieber, and they've been kind of surviving out there. Their rotation is not good, not great. They're formidable. but I don't think it's anything to be. How I'm trying to put it is, I don't think it's anything showing of a 17-7 record to start the year. They've kind of slugged their way to that position. So I want to pose the question to Jay Cruz: do you think they're going to be able to hold up this type of play? I mean, they've been surviving with Stephen Kwan and then Josh Naylor, who have both slugged their way to this. Stephen Kwan specifically too, man. He has a 1.5 OPS right now.
Wow.
That's impossible to keep up throughout a whole season. Yeah. But can the Guardians keep this up as a whole team performance the rest of the year?
Yeah, I struggle to think that they will. The only really impressive, I mean, they've gone on the road at Seattle and the Red Sox and done well, but
and the Red Sox are good.
Those two teams are they're still not. I don't even think either of them will be playoff teams this year. At least they haven't shown it yet.
Not quite yet.
But no, it's a good start. They kind of remind me of the Cubs in a lot of ways, especially with that power from the first base position that both teams have seen so far. Pitchers are stepping up, sort of by committee with Bieber being out. But no, I genuinely don't think that they will keep this up throughout the season. Again, I would love them to. I just don't think they will. But they do have, what the Cubs don't have right now. They're not dealing with a ton of injuries in the lineup at least.
Yeah.
So a guy like Jose Ramirez still being there is really helpful.
I think it's Carrasco is his name. He just had his 200 start just the other day.
It's great to see him back in a Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland uniform.
Yeah, Cleveland uniform. So it's great to see him doing well to start. Hopefully they can keep this up. I think I don't know. I like it when the Guardians are good. Off topic, but do you like their name? Do you like the name the Guardians?
I mean, I really like their jerseys.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a huge fan of the name the Guardians.
I'm getting a thumbs down from Cole Daly
Daly
behind the screen.
I'm coming in the frame. That and the Commander sucks. They're both bad names. I don't care that they changed their name. That's not a political opinion that I'm making, but I hate that they changed them to two boring generic names.
Great insight. Great insight from Cole Daly. Loud insight from Cole Daly. We're going to move on to the New York Mets here. And everything has been great to start this year for the Mets as well. Their pitching staff has been doing it. They're not anything outstanding by any means. Yeah. They got our old guy, our old boy Jose Quintana out there. But it's really been about the bullpen specifically. Two guys in particular I want to point out. I mean, of course, everyone talks about Edwin Diaz, but Reed Garrett, man, he's been on one. He's been a stud. I feel like he could be a starter if they needed one in a pinch. But he's been a great guy just in case their starters get out, fairly early. He can last 2 or 3 innings if they need to. He can also be that transition guy into that closer role. And I read a little bit of stuff about him. He used to be mainly a fastball pitcher. He was pitching 30% of his pitches at fastballs last year. That is down to under half of that, 13%. So he's been mixing a lot of breaking balls and change-ups in there as well. And he's been great for them so far. They're about to get J.D. Martinez back for their DH, so I think this is going to be a big burst of energy for their team who, they're very good at not making the big mistakes on offense.
Yeah.
The offense is bottom 3 in strikeouts, in amount of strikeouts per se, so that's a good sign. They don't swing and miss a lot of pitches, and then they just also get on base a lot too. So they're getting it done. Do you think the Mets can keep it up?
Yeah, and they've done all this without Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo being half of what they probably should be.
Yeah.
So that's what's even more impressive. And the Cubs are similar in this regard. You know that those guys are going to get it going at some point. And so just throwing in J.D. Martinez only elevates them even higher. And weirdly, I hated the Mets for a long time, but weirdly, it is kind of nice to see them have a little bit of hope because you just look at their roster up and down. There's no reason this team shouldn't be good. Yeah. I really like where the Mets are right now. Jose Butto as well, new really young pitcher that they've gotten. He's been lights out at times. So I think if you're a Mets fan, you're pretty. I don't know if you're not really thinking too far ahead because they are 13-11. It's not like they're necessarily blowing teams out of the water, but recently they've been playing so well. So I think you're starting to slowly get a little bit more hope as the year goes on.
Yeah, and I'm sure as a Mets fan, it's probably just happy. You're just happy to be in the mix this early, and your season's not over after. Was it 2 years ago they got eliminated against the Padres, or was that last season?
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. So it's just nice to see them doing well. The other New York team that I like a lot better than the Yankees.
You knew that the Padres were my Rangers that year, right?
Yes, you have told me that.
So I remember that series very, very well.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, and I'm sure you also remember that Phillies series very, very well.
I try not to think about that. Why did you have to bring that up? Jeez, JB.
My third team, the Chicago White Sox, and they're just a laughing stock right now. It's hilarious how bad they are. Okay, and I actually have a stat here that I want to pull up that I screenshotted. Right,
Stat Boy Joey.
So this is the 2024 White Sox line right now as a team offensively. They're hitting 192. On base percentage is 266.
Yeah.
Slugging 290, and OPS is 556. Now, you want to know who that actually compares to?
Who?
John Lester in 2019.
Yeah.
Cubs pitcher.
Baller.
He hit 188, just a little lower than that. He hit 264 on base percentage, just a little bit lower than the White Sox right now. Slugged 292, which is actually more than what the White Sox are slugging right now. And they're getting an OPS of 556, the same exact as the White Sox. That is hilarious to me as a Cubs fan. But it's like getting so bad to the point where it's like I kind of just feel bad for them. Like, imagine being a fan of them right now.
I feel bad for the White Sox players, and I feel bad for their fans, who I don't feel bad for, but
owner.
But nobody needs to feel bad for him because he's making money regardless. Is Jerry Reinsdorf, their owner, and he's the same guy that has screwed over the Bulls for so many years as well. It's no secret that the two teams he owns are trash and or mid. The Bulls have been stuck in purgatory basically since MJ retired, and it's always the age-old question: would you rather be in purgatory or would you rather suck for a few years in hopes that you build up a good roster? Right now, the White Sox are sucking for a long time, so I guess maybe they can build up their farm system again. I guess I don't know. It's really, really bad.
And I don't know if they had like any real hope for this season, but I just don't think anybody expected it to be this terrible too. And
Yeah.
not to mention nobody's even going to their games as well. Too.
No.
So.
Well, it's also, never mind. You might get beat up if you go there too as well. They like to punch people. Like the White Sox.
It's definitely not in the greatest part of Chicago either.
No, it's just not. That's just a fact. I mean,
That's a fact. That's not anything.
If you deny that, then you're just
That's not anything crazy.
Another thing I was going to say, I had to bring out my own stat here. They have 3 players that qualify for batting average that have like the minimum number of at bats to qualify for that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's Andrew Vaughn, Andrew Benintendi, and then Gavin Sheets, who I will say Sheets wasn't even. I guess he just recently qualified because I think he started the year injured. He's batting 246, but there was a funny screenshot a week ago because Benintendi and Vaughn were the only 2 qualifiers. Mm-hmm. They are hitting 167 and 157. So that just goes to show you the current state of the White Sox and how freaking terrible they are. If I'm actually going in June, I'm taking a vacation to Seattle, and on the last day of the trip, we're going to see a Mariners game.
Oh.
And they're playing the Chicago White Sox. So it'll be a nice day for the people in Seattle. And anybody who plays the White Sox right now, enjoy a few free wins.
It'll be entertaining just to see how bad they'll be doing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Like, just talking about the Guardians earlier, too. Like, I don't think that the Guardians can keep up at this rate of how good they've been playing.
Right.
I almost don't think that the White Sox can keep up with how bad they've been playing as well.
Right.
It has to. They're at rock bottom right now. Like I feel like it has to at least for like a short period of time. It has to turn around.
I wouldn't be shocked if it didn't, though.
But like, are they the worst? Would you say they have the worst roster in the league? I wouldn't think so. Not quite.
Maybe not
it's
on
pretty
paper.
bad.
I mean, maybe not on paper, but they're all performing terribly. So I mean, they just do.
Well, yeah. Whatever it ends up being, it's not going to be good for the White Sox this year. Their season is already over, and I'm sure as a fan, it's just not not very fun at all.
Find you a Rangers right now. Just
figure
go find
out
your
another
Texas
team.
Rangers now.
Yeah,
so you have something to root for in August.
or you could switch to the other Chicago team, our Cubbies.
We don't want those scumbags. Diamondbacks.
Yeah, not those guys. Which I want to try to transition to here, but our Cubbies sit at 15-9 right now. They're creeping up there for the top of the National League specifically too. I wanted to point out specifically this week Michael Busch. I don't know how I forgot to mention him specifically last week. He's been terrific. Which he's a guy that has been a game changer for us so far as a left-handed bat. Now, personally, I didn't really think of him as like this power threat that he has been so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he could hit homers. I knew he had some power, but to hit, 5 games in a row was very surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, he's up there in the slugging numbers for the entire league, especially with rookies too. I saw a list that he was at least number 1 on the Rookie of the Year watch list, so that's terrific to know that we have him as well as Shota Imanaga for the Rookie of the Year watch list, which it's crazy to me that Shota is technically a rookie at 30 years old.
Right.
People forget how old he is because this is his first MLB season. But he pitched, 7 years in the Japanese leagues, and it's been great to see him perform. Both of those guys performed so well this year. But yeah, last night specifically, we beat the Astros 4-3. I think it was 4-2 for a long time. Hector Neris closed out that game, and he's been our answer somewhat, at least the past couple games, as to Alzolai's pitching woes in general. But he even gave up a homer against Altuve. So is he really the answer?
I don't really think we have. I don't think Council went into that thinking that he would be the answer, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
We just don't have an answer right now. We're gonna have to try and find one.
Yeah, and I think a bullpen by committee type thing is just how it's gonna end up being for our closer to end the year. And yeah, Matt Mervis has come back these past couple games too. I think this might be one of his, and this is only like the second time he's been called up technically, but if he doesn't have a good start for the first week or two, he could get sent back down, sadly, in favor of because I think we sent back Miles Mastroboni for him. Sadly, in favor of him. I'd like to see Matt Mervis stay for a while, but I'm sad that they're going to send him back down in hopes of more AAA time being good for him.
I also think he's a guy that would probably be at the forefront of a trade potentially.
Matt Mervis?
If we do end up making one, because he's a guy. I mean, he's got the potential. We've seen him flash, even at the major league level a couple of times last season. You saw him flash. So I think there might be a team or two out there who maybe has a little bit of a hole at first base and wants to give him a trial run.
We have some players on the IL as well that have been getting beat up. Of course, we already know about Justin Steele. We didn't really talk about Seiya last week being on the IL, but he's going to be a huge detriment in our lineup not being there. He was a game changer for this lineup, being there, slugging his way to that. Yeah. But Cody Bellinger was just starting to turn it around as well, bring his slug back into the game. And now he got put on the IL. He ran into the wall against, was it the Astros the other night? So how are we going to survive without those two guys? I think we should be fine. It's only going to be a temporary, missing those two guys at the same time specifically. Yeah. Seiya should be back in the next week, hopefully, I think. Soon. I mean, listen, I know they always put 15-day IL on the depth chart and everything, but it usually ends up being a bit longer, so I have to realize that. It usually ends up being like 20, 25 days, maybe even 30 days sometimes. But, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 3 weeks without both of them.
Right.
Who really knows? And honestly, the more time that they're off, the better, because I think I don't want to rush those two type of guys with injuries like that.
I agree.
Yeah. This has been the MLB section. Did you have anything else to say?
Yeah,
about
actually,
the Cubbies? I'm sorry.
Can I do a joke?
Yeah.
Cubs are now the scrubs, not because we're playing bad, but because when you talk about us, you got to put on your scrubs. You know what scrubs are?
Yeah, for are you talking about
in
nursing?
The hospital because we're so injured right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Scrubs.
The scrubs.
We are quite literally missing our 3 best players, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and we're still winning games. So it's really impressive. So shout out to the scrubs.
Hopefully we're able to get by.
Shut up, dude.
Laugh track.
I hate this guy so much.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. Shota is going to have to try to carry our rotation for a little while.
Shout out Tyone too, by the way. He's had two pretty good starts.
How about Jameson Tyone? I think he has a changeup in his arsenal, and his changeup has been very, very good to start. I watched him in that first start against the Marlins coming back. He looked very, very good. So it's nice to have another guy like him back on our rotation. And then the bats as well. I think they'll be able to keep up without these two guys for a little while because I think we have a lot more depth than we realize, I guess. Alexander Canario, he's been a versatile piece that can bring slugging back into the lineup when Cody Bellinger is out.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, he made a really nice play against the Marlins. I think he was out in the left field. He made a turning snag on a fly ball that he kind of read wrong at first, to be honest. But when you have a glove like that, you can get away with some type of mistakes like that. So I think he is a big asset to our depth here in the next coming weeks. So
for sure.
Yeah, this has been the MLB section of the Inside Sports Podcast. We're gonna get to more draft stuff here, since the draft is today.
Right.
Today.
Day 3. Well, yeah, people watching it at home, it's day 3 of the draft for them.
Mm-hmm.
So you already know who your team's got. But let's see what we think about them. We don't need to clap. We don't need to.
Now your turn.
Me?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Cordelius is just on one today.
I know you had a hard
And the
day.
reason Cordelius is on one today is because it's the NFL draft. The Inside Sports Director of Player Personnel, this is his favorite time of the season.
Absolutely.
We're going to get into so many different things here today. We're not, you already know what's happened, so we can do a little bit more in-depth dive next week. But we're going to throw out some opinions today. If you see your team gets one of the players we'll talk about, you'll know what to think about them because we're going to tell you, right? I just want to start off by saying this, and it's not even me. I haven't even been saying this that much. But people have been telling me, oh my gosh, this is your draft. JB has said this to me. This is your draft. This is the Bears draft. You guys have 1 and 9. I'm less excited about it as other people are, I guess. And the reason I am, I guess, is because A, we're the Bears, and B, I just don't want to get too excited about the freaking draft. You do understand that, just because we're going to draft Caleb Williams, that doesn't automatically mean we're going to win games. I mean, let's just wait till we see it first. But, I guess this is a night of hope.
You never know.
I guess, right? It's a night of hope in the fact that we have 2 top 10 picks. It is pretty cool. One thing that did happen in the NFL, by the way, it would be Wednesday, was the Bengals had 2 of their top players request trades. T. Higgins, wide receiver from Clemson, still 25 years old, so he's got a lot of good football left in him. Trey Hendrickson as well on defense. And that made me think of one man who loves fleecing teams for wide receivers. And one thing that people have been asking about the Bears right now is what are they going to do with that 9th pick? Are they going to trade maybe up to 5 to get Marvin Harrison or something? That's something that people have floated out there. I think now with this T. Higgins thing, they can trade back to 18 with the Bengals. And the Bengals can come up and draft their new T. Higgins with either Odunze or Malik Neighbors.
So you'd want T. You'd want T. Higgins.
Yes, I would want T. Higgins, and then maybe a 3rd rounder maybe with that as well, because I don't think T. Higgins himself is worth the 9th pick.
I don't think he is. That's my only thing.
So that's what I'm saying. So you give us T. Higgins and then maybe a 2nd or 3rd on top of that. That just seems like a Ryan Poles thing to do. Because
I see it. No,
because
I get it.
It is kind of weird. The last 2 seasons prior to this, he just gets draft picks. He trades back all the freaking time just so we can have more picks. So that's just something I could see Ryan Poles doing. And if he did, I would freaking love it.
Would you prefer that as opposed to trading up to, let's say, 7, 6?
100%.
And getting Romeo Dunze?
If we trade back to 18 and give the Bengals 9, and then they give us their 18 T. Higgins, and then maybe a 3rd rounder, perfect.
Really?
Yeah.
Higgins is a really
because
good
then
wide
we can
receiver.
still.
Yeah, I know he is.
Because then we
but
can
he's
still
also 25.
We can still
He
draft a
also gets
solid
hurt.
O lineman. This is a very deep tackle draft.
Yeah.
We can still draft a really good O lineman.
I guess I'd rather have Romeo Dunze
Sure.
than T. Higgins right now.
Sure. Let's get into something like that.
Let's get into it.
We have a couple different questions here. First one. Name a player, we can all take part in this, who you know for a fact will either suck or be good regardless of where he goes. Like, no matter what team this guy ends up on, he's going to be good or he's going to be terrible. Cole Daly, I know you are so excited. So why don't I just give the floor to you? Put your money where your mouth is. Who is going to suck or be good regardless?
I am not buying into the Xavier Worthy stuff.
Yeah, you never have.
He's fast.
You called him a 4th-round wide receiver last week.
I think he probably is that. I mean, you look at the size. I mean, he's 6'1", 180, and that's after putting on weight.
Right.
I mean, this is you just can't. I don't believe in it. I don't think. You gotta like the speed, but I'm seeing a lot of. I mean, shorter John Ross. I'm almost seeing that in a way. Like he doesn't have great hands. He's got good route running ability. I just don't see him being in a situation where. Like, what is he really going to contribute to an NFL squad at that size, with that smaller frame?
He'd be like a Mecole Hardman style guy.
Sure, but I mean, if you're telling me first round pick, are you drafting Mecole Hardman first round?
Well, no.
Exactly.
Did he get taken in the first round?
I think he was early second.
Early second, which is not where you draft Worthy.
No.
And he hasn't been, and Mecole Hardman hasn't been worth that.
I think
second
fourth
round
might have been disrespectful. I'd probably put him at third round.
Xavier Worthy is only 20 years old. He turns 21 literally on, day 3 of the draft.
Wow.
That's
so,
funny.
I mean, he's still very young.
I understand, but when
He
you
has
got
some
that,
growing to do.
I know, but the thing that people love about him is his speed. Well, part of the reason you got to love his speed is because he's not carrying anything when he's running. He's literally sticks and bones, and that helps out cross country guys, track guys, really getting off the. If he puts on more muscle, he's not going to be that fast. I mean, he's still going to be a very, very quick player. He'll probably go from a 4.22 to that 4.31 or something. But I don't know. I've had numerous talks about it with Jay Cruz over the years. Watching him at Texas, it makes me feel more confident that he's not going to be. He's just not worthy of a first round pick, in my opinion.
JB, who are you confident about?
So my answer, I had a hard time picking my answer, but my answer is still the same guy that I want my team to draft, and it's Cooper DeJean. But I say Cooper DeJean specifically because I've seen enough mock drafts of the Packers to know that the guy that a lot of mock drafts have Green Bay getting is the guy that Green Bay will not get. So I'm convinced that Green Bay is not going to get Cooper DeJean, and they're going to end up being a star. The year that T.J. Watt went to the Steelers, I saw a lot of mock drafts of T.J. Watt going to Green Bay. Now he's an absolute stud, all-pro player. The wide receiver on the Seahawks, it's DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
The year that he went to the Seahawks, that was when we really, really, really needed a wide receiver to up our game and get past the Niners. I saw a lot of mock drafts of him going to Green Bay, and I was like, man, he's still available in the second round. We can still get him. We didn't end up getting him. He ended up being a stud. So I'm convinced just because Green Bay never gets that star that always is projected to get drafted to them, that he's going to go somewhere else and be a stud.
And who was it for you?
Oh, thank you for asking. This is a guy that Cole Daly and I have talked a lot about. He's probably my favorite offensive lineman in this draft. Not saying he's the best, but man, Cooper Beebe, 4-year starter at K-State. The dude's a monster. Okay.
Yeah.
I really wish. It's a blessing and a curse, I guess. I wish the Bears needed a guard, but we don't. Because I would love to have Cooper Beebe on my team. He's a friggin' stud. If your team drafts Cooper Beebe, just be happy. You're gonna have a great guard for the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
And that's all I gotta say.
100%.
Next, Cole Daly. This is the one that you came up with. Mm-hmm. You've aptly named the segment the Jersey Boys.
That's right.
Who's a player in this draft you might see yourself buying their jersey one day? I guess we'll start. I haven't even come up with a couple.
This isn't just you're buying his jersey someday. This isn't guy centric. This is if this guy ends up on your team, you're so happy that you're like, oh my god, screw it, I'm gonna spend the $60 and get his jersey.
Cool. How about you start us off again, Cole?
So I went ahead and put 3 guys.
He's so freaking happy. Never seen him this happy.
Cooper DeJean, I hate to be the Cooper DeJean podcast, but if he falls to the Lions at 29, listen, guys, I'm gonna put the white elephant out in the room. The white corner is back, guys. He's a white corner. He's the only one. For those of you that don't know, there's only been one white corner since 2000, and it was Troy Apke, who started like 2 games for the Commanders. Sorry.
No, they were the Redskins.
They were the Redskins at the
Say
time.
Redskins.
Yeah. But there's never been a white corner. The fact that we have a first-round white corner is very fun. It's also just funny that he goes to Iowa. Midwest kid. I think that would just be hilarious. So that's why I'm a big Keon Coleman guy. Yeah. If for some reason he just starts falling in the draft, get him in the second round. Or I wouldn't mind taking our first-round pick on him. I think he's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
Stud. And then I got to go with my Texas boy. Horns up. Yeah. Tavondre Sweat, who I mentioned to Jay Cruz, who he didn't know. Top 10 in Heisman voting.
I did not realize he was top 10 in Heisman.
Yeah.
And the other thing I said was he's not even going to be the first Texas DT taken.
He will not be. Byron Murphy.
Most likely, at least.
But a Tavondre Sweat, I feel like he feels like a lion.
This draft is so freaking good.
It's an amazing draft.
This is an amazing draft.
Joey, you have a crazy one.
Well, I have an unrealistic one, at least for my team. The reason I put my final answer is Joe Alt. If he goes to Green Bay, I would love to get his jersey. Now, I say that because David Bakhtiari was a fan favorite for Green Bay. He would be an easy replacement for him. I don't know anything about his personality, but D-Bach's personality was a terrific one for Green Bay. If he can have any type of connection that D-Bach had with Aaron that was similar with Jordan Love, I think that'd be something terrific, and he's protecting my QB's blind side. So I would love to see him protecting Jordan Love. The other guy
rocking an offensive lineman jersey is crazy.
I was seriously considering getting a D-Bach jersey before he got his.
I feel like D-Bach has to be the most popular offensive lineman jersey.
69?
Probably.
Yeah.
And he's
69. I mean, D-Bach, 69,
Probably.
the 69 thing
Kyle
factors
Long.
in. Maybe Kyle Long.
Oh, gosh, that center on the Rams.
Jason Kelsey is
Jason
Kelsey
Kelsey's
there
as well.
He's definitely number one.
Andrew Whitworth?
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. But no, my other guy is Xavier Worthy. Just hearing you talk about him so much, it sounds like he'd be a good fit for Green Bay.
If he goes to the Packers, he'll be the number 1 receiver in the league probably.
And he doesn't need to be quite ready this year. So
right, and they already have Dontavion Wicks. I mean,
you guys laugh at me so much, but I am so serious.
I like Wicks, but you are so high on Jaden Reed and Christian Watson. It is just, he's good, but they're like, oh my god, Jaden Reed's gonna be like Puka Nacua next year. It's like, no, he won't. He'll never. I think he literally hit his ceiling as a rookie.
Sheesh.
I do think.
Watch
that.
the Jaden Reed slander.
Who's your little Jersey boy, huh?
Well, I only have 2. I guess the JB also had 2, but I would do Marv. If we trade up for Marvin Harrison, I mean, this is sort of the Justin Fields effect. I've been watching Marv, been rooting for him very intently for the last, I guess you could say. I mean, he was on the team for 3 years, but he was really only a starter for the last 2. And then my other would be a guy that Cole Daly mentioned is Keon Coleman, another guy that it's just. This is weird. It's probably really stupid that you and I do this, but we just latch onto these guys.
Yeah.
We're just since when they're in college or even in high school sometimes, we're never gonna let go of them.
No.
So Keon Coleman's one of those dudes. I loved him when he was at Michigan State. I really wish he would have stayed there, but I mean he flashed at Florida State. Him and Johnny Wilson were an incredible duo, and just to feel like I was right about something. So if he somehow falls to the 3rd round, I don't think he will. Or maybe the Bears do a trade and maybe they get a 2nd-round pick out of it. Who knows?
Weird way.
But if they somehow get Keon Coleman, I might be buying his jersey.
Ecstatic. Can I throw out one little bonus
Sure.
Go ahead.
that we can do before the draft? This is before. I mean, we have to. We got to promise our fans at home they know.
6.5 hours prior to the draft.
How do you think the top 5 goes? Because that's the big conversation right now. Nobody knows what's happening right now. We can make it top 10 if you want.
Nah,
but
I think
it's probably
good.
too much of an extension.
Yeah.
So let's go with what do you think happens in the top 5? Jay Cruz.
Okay, so I'm not going to associate any teams. I'm just going to tell you what players are going to be taken in the top 5, and in the order. Well, because it's hard. Trades are so unpredictable.
I know, but the teams that trade in, trade
All right.
out.
Well, I'll do a little bit of a abbreviated version. Okay.
Sure.
Caleb 1.
Yes.
Jane Daniels 2.
Okay.
Drake May 3. Okay. Caleb 1 of the Bears. Jane Daniels 2 of the Commanders. 3 will be Drake May to either the Patriots or the Vikings, Broncos, Giants. I could see any one of those teams trading up to take him. Right?
Pick one. Who do you think makes the trade? Okay.
Who makes the trade?
Or no, it doesn't need to be a trade. If you think the Patriots are going to stay at 3,
I think they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick number 4, and it's the Cardinals, and I could see them trading out because I feel like one of those 3 teams that I just mentioned would be scared of somebody hopping because the Giants are sitting at 6, which I think is pretty interesting. I guess I don't think it's going to happen. I think Marv will be taken at 4. He'll go to the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray will have a new toy to play with, which I think is that duo is going to be kind of underrated because Kyler has a pretty good deep ball. I think Marv would be a big addition for them. And at number 5, it's the Chargers. That's another team I could see trading back because they don't need a QB. If Jim Harbaugh thinks JJ is so good, why doesn't he trade for him? But I would say that 5 is more likely than 4 to be the trade spot. I could even see the Giants, and Giants fans would hate this, but it would be the most Giants move ever to move up one spot just to block a team from like the Vikings or Broncos from trading up there. So I'm going to say that J.J. McCarthy is the number 5 pick in the NFL draft to either the Giants, Vikings, or Broncos. And if you made me choose one, probably the Giants is the most likely to take J.J. McCarthy at 5. Yeah.
Interessante.
Very interesting. Now, I could also see the alternate reality would be the Chargers taking either Neighbors or what's his name? Rome Odunze.
Mm-hmm.
So is that 3 QBs in your top 5?
Yeah, 5.
That's 4.
4.
4 in the top 5.
4.
Wait, who am I missing? Caleb Williams, Drake May,
Jane
Daniels. Yeah, and J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Who do you have in your
which is a
top
terrible
5?
pick, by the way.
Well, obviously Caleb. Marvin Harrison isn't. I'm not. This is not in order. Caleb.
No, go in. What are we doing, guys? You guys are. Yes!
You gotta do teams in order.
We're doing a mock draft right now.
We gotta stay consistent.
Fine. We'll do Caleb 1, Jaden Daniels 2.
Commanders for the folks.
It's the Patriots. They won't take Marvin Harrison. It'll be a QB.
No laugh. They take Marvin.
And it'll be Drake May.
Okay. 4 Cardinals.
Marvin Harrison, and then
Chargers.
I mean, because I could really see them also trading, but I don't want to predict a trade.
Predict a trade.
No,
I don't want to.
He doesn't have to predict.
I have
The
no
fans
idea.
are gonna shoot you if you're wrong.
He doesn't have to predict.
I don't want to predict a trade because it's so unpredictable.
Then who are the Chargers
I'll
taking?
say they're gonna go with an offensive lineman, and they'll probably go with Joe Alt because he's probably the number 1 lineman.
Great mock draft, JB.
I think
Cole.
so.
Who's
I
your
think it's
top
a good
5?
one too. I just don't know why you two.
He doesn't have to do a trade if he doesn't want to.
Number 1, Caleb Williams to the Bears. Number 2, Jane Daniels to the Commanders. Number 3, Drake May to the Patriots.
Okay.
Number 4, Marvin Harrison to the Cardinals. Number 5, it would have to be J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings.
Okay.
I don't think
absolutely see that.
I don't think they go in division.
That would make my day.
I want the Giants to move up to 3, and I think it's doable. But I can't see the Pats trading back again without Belichick. Like, they need a new face. They need, like, a Belichick's gone, Drake May's here. You know what I mean? Like, Gerard Mayo, Drake May, that's the pairing.
Right.
But I want the fans to know that I'm rooting for a Drake May. Giants move from 6 to 3, and the Patriots go back. So
I will say, in your scenario, when JJ goes to the Vikings, if there is any place where he would succeed outside of Chicago, obviously, you get to play in your rookie year with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice as a rookie.
You'd be all right.
That's pretty nice as a rookie. So.
Absolutely. But I just, it's boring. I don't want the boring thing.
Well,
I think JJ is a better Bronco. You know what I mean?
Well, you're picking with your head, not your heart.
Do you think there's this? So there's 2 elements that we can talk about here. So Jim Harbaugh, obviously head coach of the Chargers, and also coach J.J. McCarthy, who's being projected to number 5.
Right.
So do they either go A, they think that J.J. McCarthy is good, and they trade him to the Vikings because they don't want to play him in division.
Right.
Or maybe Jim Harbaugh knows better than anybody that JJ actually sucks. And the Broncos are willing to give up their entire draft capital to go up to 5. And Jim goes, we just can't turn down your offer. Fine, you get JJ McCarthy. Do you think that's in play?
Absolutely, it's in play. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh is a scumbag, people, and he says things in the media just to try to pump. Like there's never been a player.
Is this Michigan hate?
You asked for it.
I agree
you
with it.
threw the alley oop, and I am backwards slamming that thing in there.
Scumbag.
He is a scumbag. I'm not saying that no coach I've ever rooted for isn't also a scumbag, but he just is a verified scumbag who gives off this vibe as this holier than thou man who cheats. So I do think that's in play. I don't think it's going to happen. But if that did happen,
it would be very smart.
Because that, to me,
it's smart.
If they do trade with the Broncos, that's what's happening. He would because if he does think that's good, he wouldn't do the trade.
Right.
He would say, no, get him out of the division. We don't even want to play him. Maybe once every 4 years. No, get him out. So if that does happen, I will laugh very, very hard.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry. Can I just pose a question here? What if the Chargers just don't trade out of 5? Then who would they take?
So that's why I said Neighbors or Odunze, because they need a receiver. Like you have Justin Herbert who's a sitting duck.
I honestly don't see a universe where the Chargers stay at 5.
I don't either.
Like I think the Falcons would trade up or some.
What?
Probably not Falcons
Probably not.
because they need defense and defenses later. But like I think the Chargers would trade with the Bears, and so the Bears could move back up to get Neighbors. And then the Chargers go back to 9 so they can pick Latham in a better spot.
I think they would only trade with a team that needs a QB because they need a wide receiver. You wouldn't trade with the Bears because you know that they're going to take a wide receiver.
No,
and
that's
then
fair.
that gets another. And then maybe the Titans take a wide receiver.
Well, but
maybe.
the only other argument is the Chargers could take a J.C. Latham, Fashanu.
Sure.
Won't be
It just
there
depends
now,
on what they
but-
want, I guess. But if I were the Chargers,
Is there
I would be
anybody?
taking a wide receiver.
Is there anybody defensively? Because I mean, I'm just thinking of the Chargers' defense right now. They're kind of older.
Yes.
I would think they would need some. I don't know. They just might want to develop.
Well, you
some
want to know what?
youth on
I
there.
would love if Falcons go Byron Murphy at 8
Sure.
or Latu. Chargers with Dallas Turner. I love that fit.
Yeah, he wouldn't play right away though.
You don't think? I
Not
mean, I know
over
they got
Mac or
Nick.
Bosa.
I mean, I know, but
I think they
you'd
would
fit him in.
I think they would be more likely to take if they did take a defensive player. I think they would be more likely to take Murphy.
Their
than
defense is
The
the
Falcons.
reason they're so
I think
trash.
I would just flip.
Well, that's also 'cause
I basically
Brian
just flip what you said. I think the Falcons, and then again, this is just my opinion, but I think the Falcons should take Turner, and the Chargers should take Byron Murphy in that case.
I agree. I think I like a lot. Here's the thing. I like
whoever,
Murphy a
an
lot.
edge rusher.
Yeah, right. So, okay, let's move on to what we learned. We got to wrap up the show here. Saluki Sports View is coming up. That's not something on our show, but that's something we do outside of this. Don't give me that look, Jay Cruz. Shut up. Joey, I'm not going to start with you. I'm starting with Jay Cruz.
Hey, let's go. I learned something. This is actually something I learned as opposed to just a thought I had. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. It is not close either. Maybe Mike Malone. Maybe Mike Malone's the only other guy who sort of challenges him, and of course it happens to be the two teams that played in the finals last year. It's not a coincidence that they keep – no, obviously they only won one game against the Celtics, but they were 15-point underdogs, won that game relatively handily. They shot the absolute lights out. Do I think they're going to score – sorry, do I think they're going to make 23 threes in another game this series? Probably not. But Eric Spoelstra these last couple of seasons has maximized the talent that he has in the court to the nth degree, and he's bringing in guys from anywhere like Jaime Jaquez and turning them into solid role players, even starter level players in the NBA. Obviously, between today and the last pod, you saw the Chicago Bulls got crushed by the Heat without Jimmy Butler. They won by 20. That game was never really that close. They pulled away in the fourth quarter. Tyler Hero has elevated his game to another level. Eric Spoelstra has just done an incredible job these last couple of years, and I just wanted to shout him out because I think him and Mike Malone are right there at the top for the best coaches in the NBA, and it's probably not very close. Do you have a problem with that, by the way?
No, not even a little bit. I think he is. I
Yeah.
think it's undisputed. I also really love it because there was a big argument. Remember, Michael Jordan and Kobe both got to play with Phil Jackson, one of the greatest coaches of all time. LeBron's never had an elite coach. Well, you can't say that.
That's not even close
Eric
to being true.
Spoelstra is wonderful.
And also,
Tyronn Lue's a good coach.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
and I just want to say, for that argument is stupid because LeBron got to choose all of his coaches. So
That too.
the blame on that should go to LeBron James.
Joey B. What'd you learn?
So, was it yesterday or the day before? The Reggie Bush got his Heisman back, right? And the thing I keep seeing is the reason why he got his Heisman back is just the viewing around exactly what it is that he did and what is it that he did. Well, he was receiving cash from promotions and everything, and back in the day, you weren't allowed to do that. It was at 05 of his Heisman years. So, I guess no one would have thought that something like that was going to change when the NIL rules were just getting changed just years ago, which, by the way, that was my very first story for the Daily Egyptian. I wrote a story about the NIL changes here, which, I don't know, just a funny note.
It's front page.
Yeah, it was front page.
Nice.
So, I just think that this NIL deal, back then when those changes were happening, I guess I just didn't realize how big of a change that really was. I knew it was monumental. I guess I just didn't really know how much it really could affect the pro landscape, just everything, I guess, in sports.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Jay Cruz was coming for me earlier because mine is just a thought. It's not something that I actually learned.
Oh no, I was just saying that's what I do every week. So,
Right. No,
yeah.
I get it. But since it's NFL draft season, and what's your title for me on this show?
Inside Sports Director of Player Personnel.
Director of Player Personnel. I want to talk a little bit about players I was right and wrong about. One I mentioned earlier in the season. I'm just going to get it right out the way. But boy, I was wrong on C.J. Stroud. I thought he was a benefactor of the system he was put in place at Ohio State. Turns out he is simply unbelievable. He's become one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Love watching him play, and I have to give my hats off to you, Jay Cruz, because you did tell me.
I did tell you. I told the whole world about it. Now, I do want to ask you a quick question. Did you think that because you had watched him play, and this isn't a shot, did you think that because you watched him play or because of just things you heard from so-called experts?
From me watching him play, I really wasn't all that impressed. Yeah, I mean, he makes good throws, but also a lot of the time he's throwing to guys that are open by 10 feet with Marvin Harrison, and he just had two. I like quarterbacks whose lives are miserable. Like Ohio State, when you lose 2 games because you have 5 stars who are blocking for you, who are behind you blocking in the shotgun position, and then out in the slots and everywhere. I don't usually love those guys. I never have. Mac Jones was a guy. I said, don't draft number 15.
Yes.
I was right on him. That's an example that we're using right now.
Yeah.
Like, these are just things I don't really believe in.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, I was wrong on. However, I know we only had a small sample size of 4 games, but it's looking like I was right on Anthony Richardson, who proved to be a lot better than what we originally thought.
Yeah.
I don't want to make a definite yes or no on me being right on him. Mm-hmm. I can say that about Mac Jones I referenced earlier.
Yes.
Some other guys, I was a big Roshan Johnson guy, being at Texas, and he looks like he's probably going to get your second most snaps for the Bears this year.
Yeah, maybe. Him and Khalil Herbert are probably going to fight for that. I mean, obviously DeAndre Swift, which is just crazy saying that he's on the Bears.
Yeah, it's
DeAndre
really
Swift
weird.
being number 1. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But running backs get injured all the time, so he'll have a shot. He'll have a shot.
Absolutely. The player I was wrong about, Breece Hall. Was not a big Breece Hall believer at Ohio State. Iowa State. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry.
But
I'd loved him at Ohio State.
But he's been absolutely incredible. I could keep on going down the line.
Sure.
But the point is, I was on there is another one that I want to put out. But Derek Stingley, who is still good, by the way. But I was on Sauce Gardner is better than Derek Stingley.
Same.
Since the beginning of that college football season, which was not the case. Mm-hmm. Everybody had Stingley higher, and Sauce might be like 15 picks, something like that. I've been really proud of that one over the past couple of years. So, as all players, I've been wrong before, but just want to revisit some of those that we talked about last year.
It's crazy that this podcast is old enough that we could actually go back to your guys' takes about Stroud and Bryce Young.
You know what I'll do is we can put it right here if there's a clip. Can we do that?
Of what?
I'll go back to our old draft episode, and I'll find a player that I feel like I was overwhelmingly right about.
Sure.
And if we can put that right.
I'll do it.
I'd be happier taking Anthony Richardson at number 6 than taking Devin Witherspoon.
That's a wild take, but
I would be. Because I've seen some smoke around Anthony Richardson.
you've mentioned Joey Porter as like that.
I won't look.
Wow, you actually did say that. Wow,
This
Cole
guy's smart.
You are smart.
This guy's
Congratulations.
brilliant. Anyways, that does it
What an
for
episode.
our NFL draft episode. Well, it was everything, but
Yeah.
this is the one before the NFL draft, which we're all very excited for. This has been episode 28 of the Inside Sports Podcast, as with the DE capitalized. Has been your host Cole Daly, Joey Bernard to my left, and Jay Cruz, who is just some guy. I'm editor-in-chief of the Daily Egyptian, and Joey B is the graduate assistant for the Daily Egyptian. We thank you all for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you know when we drop our episodes. And please like the episode, comment if you feel like it. And then on Spotify, please be sure to like the episode and give us a follow so that you know when we drop our episodes weekly, which is
Saturday morning.
That's correct. So I think that's all.
Yep.
And have a good day.